So, hello everyone, it's Jenna here, and I wanted to get back behind the camera. It's been a while since I've filmed anything. My phone was dying basically, and the microphone on it was getting worse and worse, and every time I've tried to film something there was this weird ticking sound in the background. But I've got a new phone now, new shiny phone, so hopefully you are hearing me loud and clear. I also have a lovely quiet house, which is absolutely amazing after 6 months of mayhem, lockdown, homeschool, 2 little ones, full on, full time. It is just, I have to say, quite nice just to have a little bit of peace and quiet. So here we are. Now, some of you may have seen on my Facebook page that I did this page a couple of weeks back of a kite flying above a landscape, and I thought I would show you how I did it, if I can remember what I did, so that you could do something like this too, if you like. So the thought behind this piece was that I was dreaming with God, really. I was sat by myself. I'd dropped my children off at school, and I was sat having some peace and quiet for a few minutes. And I just started thinking about the bigger picture, because I just hadn't had chance to do that for months, really. I'd just been firefighting. And I started thinking about all the things that I would like to do. Now my littlest has started school, all the things I'd like to do with my art, things I'd like to do with the house, things that I'd like to do as a family. I started thinking about all these possibilities and opportunities. And with those also, I have to say, came a load of fear and worry, anxiety, I suppose, about where to start, if they're right, what does God think about them. And so I just wanted to come before the Lord and just place myself under him and under his protection and under his sovereignty. He is our loving Father. He has good plans for us, plans to prosper us and bless us. He wants what's best for us. So this little piece of artwork was that process, really. And I didn't start on the page. I actually started with some writing just on a scrap piece of paper. And I've recently remembered just how much I like writing, by which I mean, I don't mean that I like calligraphy. Some of you guys are amazing at, beautiful hand lettering and things like that. Unfortunately, that is not my area of expertise. What I mean is writing as a means of personal expression and journaling, really, I guess, in the truest sense of the word. So journaling my feelings, my thoughts, as a way of processing them. And I've done this all my life. When I was a little girl, I kept a diary. I used to write in it every day, not necessarily about what I'd done, but about what I thought and what I was worried about. And I just think it's an amazing practice. And as I became a Christian, it became a way of praying, I guess, a way of still processing those thoughts, but doing that in the presence of God. So I literally grabbed a scrappy piece of, look, this is some home learning left over. I grabbed a scrappy piece of paper and started just writing a stream of consciousness about all these hopes and fears for the future. So if you're in a place now following lockdown, where perhaps you're in a place that you weren't at the beginning of 2020. Perhaps you're in a place that you didn't think that you would be. You hadn't planned to be here, and you're not sure what's coming next. This is a lovely time to spend some time thinking about these things before the Lord. So let's start with doing this. Let's get a scrap of paper. This is my Tesco receipt, so it really can be any scrap of A4 paper. I'm going to go for white because this will eventually end up on our page as part of the sky. So I don't really want to choose a dark colour for my background. And in terms of writing implements, you can use what you like, but the thing to be aware of when you're going to use this for collage, which we are, is that if you use something permanent, like a pencil, this is just a normal, no, actually that's a green pencil. I have to go and find a normal pencil. If you use just a normal pencil, as I have done here, that's permanent. And there are lots of other types of permanent pens that you can use as well. But a lot of pens aren't permanent. Like, for example, this is a kind of gel pen type thing. And I'm pretty sure if I write with that and I add some water to it, it is going to go all smudgy and blurry. And you might love that. You might love the smudgy, blurry thing when we add water or paint to it, or you might not. So that is really something to be aware of. I'm going to keep it really simple, and I'm just going to use a pencil for now. I'm just going to go and get one, in fact. So you can start, dear God, if you want to, but you don't have to. The Lord is here and he's listening. So thank you. I'm just going to pray. Thank you, Lord, that throughout this process, you are with us. You know each thought before we think them, as it says in the Psalms. So we come before you in humility. You know it all already, but we just want to pour out our hearts to you, especially our hopes and dreams, Lord, which are precious to you, precious in your sight. And you are excited about working with us to see your kingdom come. So I pray you would bless us now as we come before you and we create before you for your glory. Amen. So don't worry about your handwriting. Don't worry about your spelling. Just literally scribble, okay? So you're not going to see this. You're not going to, this isn't going to be on display. You can be honest. And, you know, you might see the odd letter or word, but you don't, this is kind of between you and God, really. So just start writing. Just start letting God know what's on your heart. So just keep going until you have a page or a couple of pages of writing. As long as it's flowing, you can just keep going. And maybe the Lord is already speaking to you about some of the ideas on your heart or some of the questions that you have about your future. And that's wonderful. You don't have to wait until you finished your painting before you hear from the Lord. He's in the whole process. So you've got a lovely sheet, hopefully full of writing. You can you don't even need to write in lines. You can write over your writing like this as well, especially if you are keen for it to not be readable. You know, you can swirl, doodle, you can draw little pictures, but hopefully you've got a page full along these lines. So we're going to use that in our art. Now, in my original picture, I did this in my little A5 journal. So that's a double page spread, which is A4, I guess. But I thought for a change, I would do a smaller version today, just on a piece of card that my children have already managed to splodge some paint on. So this is just a piece of quite lightweight card, because I thought this might be a nice little piece that you could tuck in your Bibles, or it could even be something you give to someone. But I thought, yeah, we'll work on this sort of size today. But if you want to work in your journals, that's fine. That's fine by me. So the first thing we're going to do, I think, well, actually, what is the first thing I'm going to do? So we've got, when we come to our art journal, or we come to our piece of paper, we are faced, first of all, with the problem of the blank page. Now, there are a million ways that you can solve this problem. I tend to try and break a couple of blank pages in my journal so that they're already not blank. I am not very good with a blank page. A blank page is scary. So I would normally start something off on a page. I mean, without... So this is like a background I did with some leftover paint, which is just started. But I suppose that's got a couple of layers on it already. I'm just trying to find a page I've just scribbled on. So you can, you know, just doodle, scribble on a page, do writing on a page to start it. Dump leftover paint on a page. So this isn't like a background. I can't find any more in there. This isn't like a background layer. This is just, we just need to break this whiteness. And one really fun way of doing that is to try out your new art supplies. And that's how I started my original kite picture. I had bought some of these guys, which are Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons. Now, you don't absolutely have to have these in your life in order to survive. However, I love them, and I've always loved them and used them. They're probably one of my desert island supplies for art journaling, because they look like a crayon and you can use them like a crayon, you can write with them, you can colour with them, but they are also water soluble, which basically means they turn into a kind of paint. And once they're dry, they're fairly permanent as well. So yeah, they're lovely. They're lovely to work with. So I'd bought some new ones of these guys, and you can buy sets like this. But actually, somebody gave me some advice recently to buy colours that you love. You can actually buy these individually for a couple of quid on eBay. And, you know, whatever colours give you joy, buy those. You know, don't buy red, yellow and blue like you were taught at school. Buy what makes you happy. That's what I think anyway. So I bought these because they made me happy. I bought this one as well, which is a Prussian blue, I think. And I think what I did to break this page, this was even before I was thinking of what I would do on the page. Can you see there's like a kind of rainbow going on here? Can you see that? You can see the lines here. And there's even some writing here. What I did was I think I just held them together like this and kind of did this kind of thing, just to try them out, really, just to see literally to see what colour they were. And I heard once that if you buy some lovely new supplies, if you use them within the first few days of buying them, when you're really excited about them, you're much, much more likely to use them again. Whereas if you buy new supplies and you stick them in a drawer somewhere and think, oh, I'll get them when I need them, you tend to forget about them and not really use them, maybe never use them. So if you buy new stuff, use it. Why not? And just have a go with it. Try it out. Play. I'm just literally just playing here with some crayons. You don't have to do that, or you can just scribble like that. There we go. Our page is no longer white. Panic over. And you will see the lovely thing about this is we activate it with water. Now, they just look like boring old crayons at the moment. Oh, sorry, I just joggled my camera. So they just look like boring old crayons at the moment, but as soon as we start adding water, you can see how vibrant they become. On my on screen here. It's like they come alive when you add water to them. There we go. And that is our first layer. Now, let's grab our writing. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this as a little bit of interest in the background by tearing it up. Yes, we're going to tear up our heartfelt prayer to God. And that's not because it's not important, it's because it is important. Think of this as like, you know, when they, you know, burnt incense in the Old Testament and burnt offerings, and the fragrance went up to God. In the destroying of something, we can offer it to God. I think that's sort of where I get this thinking from. So be brave, tear up your pages. You don't need a lot of it because we're only working on a tiny little square. So we're just going to take some pieces and we're going to stick them on. Thank you, Lord, that you hear our prayers. Thank you that you know our hearts. So you don't have to cover the whole thing. And I'm going to stick these down now. I'm going to use Haribo Orange Softies multivitamins. No, I'm not. This is a pot that I've got a mixture of, if I can open it, it's one of those, so the kids can't drink the glue. It's a mixture of Mod Podge and water, basically, probably half and half. In fact, it might need a little bit more. Just go and get a little bit more. So this is the Mod Podge. You don't have to use this. You could use gel medium. You could use, I mean, use a Pritt stick if that's all you've got is fine. But a wet glue, a bit of watered down PVA would be fine. It's quite good when you do collage to kind of go right to the edge, overlap it. We can always chop off those bits later. So what this is doing creatively, I've said what we're doing spiritually, we're giving all these ideas, hopes and fears to God. But what we're doing creatively is we're creating texture with all these little torn edges. We are using our handwriting as a kind of graphic element in the background of our page. I don't know about you, but I don't really like my handwriting. But used like this, when you just see tiny little bits of that, I do quite like the idea that there's a kind of secret message here peeping through, and I do like that graphically. And I like that that fits with what it is, really. It's a secret conversation between me and my father. So this is where we've got to. The next thing we're going to think about is our landscapey bit down here, which was a number of different collage pieces. I don't know, am I in shot? These hills, they look like kind of India or somewhere like that with all this terracing. There's some formal garden here and a landscape. I think that's somewhere near me actually. So there were 3 different bits here that I found in magazines. So grab your pile of magazines. I am lucky enough to have some lovely gardening magazines, but I even found this flyer from 2018. Look, even this has got a bit of landscape on that we could use. So you don't have to go out and buy an expensive gardening magazine to do this. I'm pretty sure any kind of magazine, promotional material lying around somewhere, you will find some landscapey, collagey pieces. So have a flick through what you've got and tear out any bits that you think might be useful. Now we're working on quite a small scale here, so actually little images like this, oops, might be perfect. You'd probably be a bit more careful than me at tearing them out. I prefer to tear rather than cut because you can kind of blend the edges a bit more, whereas if you've got a really straight cut, it's more obvious that it's something that you've cut out, if that makes sense. So look, it's almost like these mountains could go together there, maybe. So I'm just trying to imagine how we could piece together something that looks a bit like a landscape at the bottom here. If you want to paint a landscape, of course, you could do that. But I love using collage for the bits that I want to look a bit more real world. I guess because I'm not so good at drawing and painting things that are supposed to look like other things. Or actually, it's not so much that, it's that actually I don't want the stress of that when I'm focusing on other things. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I like to challenge myself, but maybe not today. If you've got a bit of horizon, I think that's what I was looking for when I was looking in these pictures, looking for a bit of a horizon. At the bottom of our page. Kind of like that. So I'm ripping off the sky, but I'm going to keep the sky and put some bits of sky around in our sky as well, if that makes sense. So you can see what I've tried to do, I've used lots of different pieces, but what I've tried to do is kind of join up the horizon line. I know it looks a bit funny at the moment, but we'll work on it to blend it in a little bit more later on. Okay, so what I did next, I think, on my picture was to get some paint on the go. So I'm just going to go and get some paints. So I've got some phthalo turquoise, if that's how you say it here, which I think is what I started with. And I've also got some white, which we're going to need in a minute. So what I did, a little bit on here, was I used a store card. You can use a palette knife if you prefer, just to get a little bit of this going on here and to work it down from the top of the page. You want to get right to the top, you might want to put it on something. And you don't need very much paint at all. I'm just working with the paint that's on there to get some nice texture going on. I remember being a bit horrified at this point and thinking, oh, that's a horrible dark colour. But never fear. Titanium white is here. And that's one of the lovely things about mixed media, is it's very forgiving, because if you don't like something, you just stick something over the top. You know, it's not so much like, I mean, watercolour and things like that, you have to be a bit more confident, I think, about not making mistakes. Okay, that's probably enough for now. And then, because I freaked out a bit about how dark that was, what I did next, I think, was I got a baby wipe. Still have baby wipes in the house, even though my children are now 5 and 7. Don't know what I did without them. Oops, sorry. And I spread the paint around just a little bit, still leaving that texture, but just softening it a bit, taking some of it off, spreading some around. Kind of like it darker at the top and lighter down by the horizon. I think that's what I aimed for before. You kind of tend to get that on landscapes. Right. There we go. So what did I do next? That's the question. So I'm going to go in with just white paint now. And I think I'm just going to use my fingers, actually. Bring back some light, hazy light on the horizon. Good to have your wet wipes handy when you're painting with your fingers. You can kind of scratch into those patches of paint. So while that's drying for a bit, we can have a little go at working at this landscape down here. I've got my Neo colours out again. Quite like using I mean, if you haven't got Neo colours, you could use anything you like really. You could use paint, you could use pens, artist pens, brush pens. So because I'm now working over the collage, sort of in the same way, you can start to bring some unity to those pieces. Feeling like I've lost my trees a bit here. Just trying to scratch a bit of that paint off. That's not going to work. Never mind, I might have to draw them back in a bit. So I feel like this bit in the middle isn't yellowy enough. This is a sort of more of an emeraldy green. So I'm just going to make this a bit more yellowy to tone in better with these two. With my olive. This is just my Happy Places colour. A yellowy green is definitely where I want to be any day of the week. I've got a brown somewhere. I've got a couple of browns. This is raw umber. This is a really good one to get as well. A lovely neutral brown. To add a bit more interest to the sky, I went in with some more textural collage and even some bits of lace and fabric. So this is back to my original here. So I've got some paper doilies here and I've got some bits of lace going on here. And some other bits of sky collage actually. Some of these bits might be good too. So let's have a go at that. Let's have a play around. That's good. I'm liking that.